Welcome back to another podcast this week. The big question, are you Bjorn Dunkerbeck fan or are you Robbie Nash? I have seen in the comments, it's like choosing your mom or your dad, but you've got to choose. You can only pick one. Put it in the comments. I'm obviously joined again with Mr. Paul Van Bellen.
Yeah, start off on a very tough question there, Benny. What's your thinking on that one?
You know what? I was about to say no one sit on the fence, call it, and then I was like, actually, who would I pick? And then I was like, oh my God, it's so difficult. But I wasn't really, I was in the Robbie Nash area, but I have a feeling older people than me will be picking Robbie Nash, and maybe younger ones might go for Dunkerbeck. Because definitely Robbie Nash was a little bit earlier than me. I think that it'll be interesting to see, actually. I'm going to have a look at the comments. I'm going to be keenly looking at the comments to see if people are picking. Oh, yeah. I think there'll be a lot of people saying you can't choose.
And we love the comments, don't we, Benny? This is what we live for, is the comments. Yes,
that's what keeps us going. There we go. Eric Decker, Robbie. Hey, Eric Decker ain't even that old, and he's gone for Robbie. So Robbie always to run away. 2-0. I mean, Robbie Nash, I mean, he really did bring it to the world, winning his first world title at 13. And the thing I read earlier, I was going to ask this as a question, but guess when he started windsurfing? What age?
Okay. Oh, we're going straight into the quiz.
I'm just saying.
I'm only kidding. How old was he? Well, he won his. Well, we found out from last week that he won his first world championship at 13. God, so if he won his first world championship at 13, then I'm going to say he started when he was 9.
11.
11.
Is that right? Like, because when you're looking at the internet these days, sometimes there's no way of like, is this actual real information? But I read he started windsurfing at 11. He won his first world title at 13, and he wasn't pro until I think 16 or something like this, which is bonkers,
insane. Really. Imagine starting windsurfing now, and then in 2 years' time you're a world champ. That would be pretty amazing.
It is mad. It is mad.
That would be amazing.
Well, okay, before we keep going on about this, because we have got a special guest, which actually this show is going to be about. We're going to be talking about Hall of Fame windsurfers, windsurfing legends, bit of stuff from back in the day, maybe some stories in there. So have a think about your legends at home. I can already see Antoine. I haven't even asked about Antoine, and Antoine is already coming up in the comments, which I can definitely see that. He is an absolute legend. We're going to go on to that. But we do have a new intro clip. Now, I didn't play it because I feel like it needs... What do you think? Well, Paul's made it. I think it's a beautiful piece of windsurfing. What is it? It's beautiful, mate. It's bloody beautiful.
Thanks. A little bit of art. You know what I'm going to do? I'm first going to, just so we got a comparison here, we're first going to play your original one, and then we're going to play the new one. Okay. So at least we have a bit of a contrast. So let's start with the original, the OG intro. It stood the test of time, it did the job, and it also showed off all the sponsors. So it did its job.
Okay. What's the new one? Come on, hit them with it.
Well, before that, I just thought, since there's the both of us on here and it's supposed to be kind of fun and casual, then, we wanted a video to, start off on that vibe. So here we go. This is something I made. It's pretty silly. Hopefully you guys like it. And if you do, then we'll just run with it for the time being. So here you go. This is the new intro for the show.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the wind biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. Cars PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Yeah. All
How's the beat on
right. You can't not like that intro, surely.
No,
You
thanks.
cannot.
Hopefully you guys like it as well. It's just a bit of fun, bit of a laugh. So anyway, so that's our new intro.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay. What I can see the comments coming in. Love it. Oisin Van Gelden loves it. Steve says swag. Yes, it's gonna come. Bill Shorts laughing. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Actually, that's a good point. Guys. I forgot we can click on the comments. I should really get on it.
Got to bring them up. It's all about the comments, Benny. Remember, we're all here for these guys.
Okay. So I've got a few people ringing me now. That's just what you need when you're live. We're going to bring in the special guest. So this show, like we said, is going to be about Hall of Famers. Now, this guy we're bringing in, I've never talked to him before. We've literally just started talking about 2 minutes before the show, and we decided we're not going to talk to him because we didn't want to ruin the just normal chat that we would have anyway. So that's where we're at. So we've got a guy coming in who is basically the creator of the Hall of Fame. Now, this is on Facebook. You can vote for legends to join this Hall of Fame, but only a few people get inscripted each year. And there's some pretty big names, obviously, in the first one. Robbie Nash is in there. Bjorn Dunkerbeck is in there. Mark Angulo is in there. You know, 3 of the actual all-time greats. And they are doing, different riders every year. But it's not just riders. There's inventors. So inventors of the windsurfer, inventors of the front of the boom. I saw Mr. Seabright is on there nominated this year, and harness signs and all sorts of stuff. Obviously women as well, the ladies champions. So anyway, without further ado, let us introduce our first guest.
But before we do that, don't we have something else we got to do beforehand, Benny?
I don't know. Have you got another intro for me?
Yeah, exactly. So, but wait, there's more, Benny. So what we're doing is we're going to attempt, so each of these shows will have different segments, and the segue to the segments will be like a little intro video, because on some video, on some podcasts, we might have 3 different segments. So to break it up, we thought just have a quick little intro zinger thing. So anyway, we're going into special guests, so let's get it started.
And now it's time for our windsurfing special guest.
Oh, I just realized it was the wrong one.
I'm bringing him in because I just saw a half-naked picture of me in there. So that's just like, I don't think anyone wants to see that. The guy's listening audio only.
That wasn't. That was
missed
the
out
first
on
one. Anyway.
Jonathan Weston. Now, there's going to be people at home. This is no disrespect to you.
They don't know who the fuck I am. Can I go now? Can I get my breakfast or what?
Oh.
So I think the best thing to do is maybe introduce yourself, give us a bit of background. I think that's probably a good way to start.
Well, you probably don't know me, but I've been around been windsurfing for 50 years. So I'm probably one of 2 people who have windsurfed for 50 years, at least 10 times a year. So there's people like, Bruce Matlack have done it longer than I have for a couple of years, but they took a break. So I'm claiming my club with like 2 people, me and McKeel Bowmeister. That's it.
Okay.
So you may not know me. I'm a behind the scenes guy. I've been a filmmaker, photographer on Maui for 20 years. And then I left. So you'll kind of find out a little bit more about me, but I thought I was here to meet Meghan Markle.
Apparently she couldn't make it.
I don't want Kim Kardashian. That's
Don't worry, you got me and Paul. We're better than that. I think firstly we need to talk about the Hall of Fame because for people who don't know, there's voting going on right now. There's a week's worth of voting. It finishes on Sunday. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So there's two different votes going on right now. One is on Facebook. It's a popular vote. And the other one is only for the inductees, the current inductees of the Windsurfing Hall of Fame. So they get an electronic ballot sent to them. It's blind, so they don't know who the other person is voting for, as opposed to Facebook, where you can actually see who has voted for who, or whom. I don't know the who or whom thing. So I started this 3 years ago. or it started started actually about 4 years ago after writing Maui Glory Days, the book, and Win Legends, the movie. So I was a film producer, and I like to, I like to honor the legends of our sport. That's kind of what I'm about. And
can I just interrupt you? Because I'm just wondering
Sure.
which page to put on now. So these are the guys on the screen, which are in line this year for, making it into the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Actually, probably what I should do is start off with who's already in.
You probably should. So, but that's a good one to start with. That's fine.
Okay.
Because I think that's what people really want to focus on right now is, who can they vote on? And so how did we get to these names?
Yes.
So, well, some people are on Facebook, and Pete Cabrera, these guys, they don't have anything to do with Facebook, but it's the only way I have. I tried to communicate with emails, and it got to be like, 500 thread long emails, and people didn't like that. So I just went to the Facebook group, Windsurfing Hall of Fame, and I asked people to, first we said to only, we only took nominations through an email. So it had to have a bio and photos. Well, guess what? Windsurfers don't like to work at anything. So they didn't, we got very few responses. So I went back to the other way, and I went back to the Facebook group, and all of a sudden, people were posting really nice bios, really nice, portfolio photos, some links to videos. And so that's how we got to these names. So we only took the kind of serious ones. The people just said, oh, I want to vote for Joe Blow, right? Joe Blow. I nominate Joe Blow. That didn't go anywhere, right? So they had to put in a bio, they had to put in some photographs, and they had to make a case for that person. Otherwise, who's going to vote for them? And unless it's Antoine, if you just put Antoine, I vote, Antoine, then everybody would vote for him. But surprisingly, as you can see, there are other people, and on the actual poll, it's very tight. This is very tight. And the person that is low here, the lower people here are actually higher. And that's with, the votes from the official inductees, people like Robbie, people like Bjorn. I don't know if they're voting or not.
Just to give the guys, because there'll be some people listening to this audio only. So in the men's, I guess, windsurfing category, like sailing category, is that what it's called? Riders category.
Riders Hall.
Antoine Albo is nominated. Brian Talma, Mickey Eskimo, Robbie Seeger, Scotty O'Connor, Eric Beale, Nick Baker, Cesare Cantagalli, Eric Tieme, and Francisco Goya. How many of those guys can make it into the Hall of Fame?
4.
4?
No, 5. I'm sorry, 5. 5. So this category is 5. All the other ones are 3. Okay. And I realize every one of these guys deserves to be in there. But if I let that happen this year, what are we going to have next year? We're going to have a really weak class. Unless people that, there are 4 or 5 criteria. And one is you have to be 50 years old. So Antoine just turned 50. He's first ballot. He's going to get in. He's a shoo-in. I get it, right? So that leaves 4 for everybody else.
Okay.
And other criteria are longevity. How long have you windsurfed in the sport? Were you a one-hit wonder? And there's, fame is a criteria. Character is a criteria. And I think there's one more I forgot. Achievement. So, Antoine has it all over everybody on achievement. But there are guys that are like the full-on spirit of windsurfing. And I'm going to pull out Scotty O'Connor's name on that one. So you've got a Scotty O'Connor, versus, Nick Baker, where Nick is, this is a Robbie Bjorn thing, right? So Scotty's a very, he started probably about when I did, and he's still sailing. He's got longevity. He's racing the Windsurfer LT down in Australia. So a guy like that, everybody wants to have a beer at the bar with. Everybody.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys on that list. I'm not going to say who they are, but they're a little more standoffish to the media, more standoff to everyday Joe. And I think the guy that is, embodies the windsurfer spirit, loves the sport, has done a lot for the sport. So the biggest criteria we focus on this year, there were 2. One is international. So in the first years, we had a lot of Americans in there, and there's the Bjorns and guys, but we had too many Americans. We had Pascal, we had some internationals, but because the sport started in America, there were a lot of Americans. You know, Matt
Yeah.
Schweitzer, they're American. Robbie, they're Americans. We couldn't get around that. But now I feel like we have to bring the international audience, you know, writers in to get the international audience in, to get that, you know, recognition from the international magazines.
Wait,
So,
so just because I know some people tune in for 15 minutes into a 20-minute podcast. How do they vote? They need to get onto the Facebook page, log in and start voting, because there is different categories. We need some Euros in there. It can't be an American run.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Right. I just want to say my last little sentence before I rambled was contribution to the sport. So Dick Lamb brought that in. He was the IWCA president for many years. Contribution to the sport. So how did it contribute to the sport? Was it all me, you know, or was it I'm doing this for the sport? So that's the other one. But to get onto the Facebook group page, you have to answer 3 questions and agree to the rules. And then I look at that. And the 3 questions are pretty simple. Who invented the boom extension? Who invented the foot strap? Nobody gets those right. So I'm going to tell you the answers here.
Hang on. Can I just go back?
Sure.
Who invented the boom extension?
Yes. Who invented the boom extension?
No clue, Paul.
Yeah.
No idea.
Anybody gets in the comments?
Wow.
Boom extension.
Okay, that is a good question.
Can we have a clue? Like what sort of year or?
Who invented the boom extension?
Well, one of the answers is Jim Schweitzer. Everybody goes for that one. Jim Schweitzer. No, that's not right. There's no Jim Schweitzer. You want a clue? The guy's a real winner.
Oh, Ken Winner. Okay.
Ken Winner. Yep.
Oh, man. I mean, that's
a clue.
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
That is a tough question.
Yeah.
Because
So,
what I liked about what you've done here, and this is what you forget in a sport like windsurfing, if someone doesn't do what you have done with this, people do get forgotten in the future. And I think like what I was looking through, which I found really interesting with I had a look on the blog, and it's got the riders, and there was a list of where it was. I'm just trying to find the list where it said about the craftsmen. This is what I was looking at. It was super interesting. Like, there was a few things that I looked at and I thought I didn't even know that. Inventor of the Velcro foot strap. I'm like, that guy would be lost forever, surely. If somebody doesn't it. Inventor.
Do you know who Hugh England is? Do you know who he is?
Me personally, no.
Yeah, okay. He was a huge guy back in the day. So, and probably the most handsome guy on the beach too.
Good lad. Well, what about Ken Cleed, inventor of the harness?
Ken Clyde, yeah. I mean, here's a picture of my softball team. So, he was an original Kailua guy right there with Larry. So he's in that picture somewhere, bigger picture. But he invented the harness. He invented the 2 lines, and the picture you see with Robbie at 13 years old, or maybe 12, maybe 11, he's got, you know, hooked into the harness. That is Ken Clyde's invention. And Ken Clyde's, you know, really a nobody in windsurfing. He never became a star or anything. He's just another guy that had an idea, and because Larry Stanley and Mike Horgan, Thor, were right there and saw it, they kind of brought it to light. It's like Hoyle bought, you know, maybe Newman Darby invented windsurfing, but Hoyle Schweitzer brought it to light, you know. So that's what Larry and Thor did. They brought that to light, and Pat Love, you know, made the harness, actually a trapeze harness. I'm rambling. Sorry about that.
No, but I have a question, because this is quite interesting, because weirdly, Paul sent me a video the other day, which was quite a famous like BBC show in the UK. And it was all about Peter Chilvers. Is it Peter Chilvers?
Yeah.
And the lawsuit. And again, I haven't heard these stories.
Yeah, we don't want to go down that road.
No, but I was going to say, but is that touchy because you're American, or are the Brits claiming it?
No. Well, when I made the movie Wind Legends, I had to research all that, and I had to make each person's case. So I made Chilvers' case, I made Newman Darby's case, and then Rhonda Smith Sanchez made Hoyle Schweitzer's case. You know, all the writers came in and made that case, because if it wasn't for Hoyle and Diane, it would have never done anything. I mean, somebody just sent me an email. I mean, I get this stuff all the time, and it said, you know, Newman Darby's in the Smithsonian. It didn't go anywhere. I said, that's true it went in the Smithsonian, but it didn't go to me. You know, I didn't hear about it. And so all these things, you know, are debatable.
So in your, I know we're jumping around a bit. So in your eyes, who actually invented the windsurfer? Not who made it famous, who invented it?
Who invented the thing? There's the thing and there's the sport. So Hoyle Schweitzer.
No,
and,
I get that. I know who made it famous, who invented the proper sport, but who invented the actual windsurfer?
You want me to say Peter Chilvers? I don't know. You know,
No, I don't know.
I don't know. Peter Chilvers is the first one on record. People's, you know, there's not a lot behind it. It's a lot of hearsay, and there's no photographs that I know of. I mean, some people send some. I don't know how doctored they are. You never know about a photograph. But he is the first person mentioned. Everybody from England will say Peter Chilvers, and he was the one I think that was brought up in the lawsuits when they were, you know, debunking the patent. They bought in him, and then they bought in Newman Darby. So Newman Darby had he was the first person to sail a door. I mean, what he had was basically a door.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go on MaoriGloryDays.com and you see there's free videos and you can see that argument. So you can just do that. But in the harness, the Chinchilla brothers, Charchula is the guy who bought the warming jacket for all the windsurfers waiting on the beach for the PWA. But the Charchula brothers, I think, were German, and they invented some kind of harness. And maybe it was a claw or something, but it wasn't the harness that Ken Clyde invented. It didn't go anywhere. Just like Newman Darby's thing didn't go anywhere. So the harness that Ken Clyde invented went somewhere because of Larry Stanley, because of Thor, because of Robbie.
Okay.
Not Bjorn, but Robbie.
Yeah. Well,
looking
at the comments. Go on, Paul.
No, so the question I have for you, Jonathan, is if we scroll down a little bit there, Benny. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, where is the page gone? The last page you had with all the different photos.
Craftsman.
Yeah, scroll down. Yeah, that one. Sorry, go up. So I can't control it. Go up. Go up. The Hugh England. Is that his girlfriend on the side there, or is she?
That's what everybody wants to know. Nobody cares about who invented what. They just look at that girl. And Hugh doesn't look like that anymore. Sorry, Hugh, but I don't know. That girl probably doesn't either. So it's an old. So if you try and find her right now, you probably, you know, as young as you guys are, it would be a big mistake. So Meghan Markle.
Does she windsurf or?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure who.
We're looking at the foot straps here, guys. The foot straps. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm definitely looking.
But wait, let me be clear here that question, Hugh England invented the Velcro foot strap. Okay, so that's a different thing from the foot strap.
Okay.
So I'm giving the answer away here. Larry Stanley invented the foot strap. Okay, he was the first person. You know, surfers had put foot straps on before. So a lot of times we're just taking things from other sports and putting them into our sport. But Larry Stanley is the answer to that question.
I guess even just since you started talking about it, I can imagine, you know, like an Australia springs to mind.
Oh, and they're going to come up and say, I invented that.
Oh, no, that's what I was about to say, because when I go over there, they were doing all sorts of stuff because obviously the internet wasn't around back then. Right. So you didn't always know who's doing what. So I can imagine there's probably people watching this going, well, I invented this, you know, because they probably did.
And Rob Kaplan was the one who brought to light, you know, Decline. He was the one who really brought that to market, right? He's the reason we all have Velcro foot straps on our boards today. They may not be Decline anymore, but back then they were. I mean, everything was Decline. And I remember meeting Rob, you know, when we were, I don't know how old, young, in our 20s. And he had, you know, he showed me the foot strap, like, this is what I got. I'm going to, you know, what do you think about it? And I'm like, it looks pretty good. I'll put it on my board, no problem. Because I had something really stupid on mine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a super cool period of time, isn't it? Because these days, you know, the improvements of windsurfing are all just very minor details. But back in those days, every month or every year or whatever it was, like major improvements, which would have been super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, in my movie, Vicky Eskimo goes, the whole thing went wham, and he was just like, I mean, Robbie put the whole paragraph to it, but Mickey Eskimo was like, he was like wham, and that's what it did. It went wham, and everything just changed overnight. So you'd wake up one day and you know, booms were extending, or you had a different universal joint. It wasn't mechanical anymore. It was like, you know, back to the original idea, just a string. The Newman Darby had just a string for the universal joint. You know, so it wasn't this big complicated thing that Jim came up with.
Yeah.
And it got all, you know, patented, and that was kind of what it was built around. But yeah, so it's interesting. But if you want to join, go to, it's very simple name, Windsurfing Hall of Fame, and you can vote up until Saturday, and then that vote will count for 30%. So I take a little algorithm of, you know, what percent did that rider get? Maybe it was like 30%, and multiply that by 0.3, and then for the other ballot I multiply it by 0.7. So, and then that's weighted and combined, and then whoever has the top 5 votes, or in other categories top 3 votes, or Pioneer top 4 votes, those are the ones that get inducted. And the big announcement here is that the first induction ceremony will take place at Defy Wind this year, May 9th. So, and Ben Prophet has already agreed to MC the whole thing.
Well, am
It's sure not going to be me. Yeah.
I'm actually a terrible MC.
Yeah. And also, like to announce that Cliff Webb. Cliff Webb, who is actually he's winning this vote in the media by far, but he's a PWA, you know, video producer and longtime photographer. He's coming on board as the executive director of the Windsurfing Hall of Fame. So I really appreciate the help. I've been doing this by myself for a few years. I've had a couple health scares, so I had to try and get somebody else to do it, and they would take it over for a week or so and go, wow, this is a lot of work without any pay. This is like the PWA, you know. So then it falls back in my, do I let it die, or do I keep plugging away until the bones fall off? I mean, I just can't let it go. That's my problem. My wife goes, just let it go, would you? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is my life. This is my passion.
Yeah.
And I can't let it go. So
I'm just saying, what I think is amazing is, even if you got rid of the voting, because the voting, I guess, is the time consuming bit and doing all the stuff. Well, not the time consuming bit, but what I found really great was just having this website with the legends from the past, not just the riders, but the you know, the other guys that you don't always read about. When, you know, because I never looked at it before, I won't lie, because I'm so busy, lots going on. And when I started looking at it, I was like, wow, that, you know, like I said to you, that guy did that guy did that. Oh, and you can go in and have a read about it. So I think even without the voting, just having a website, which is, you know, which takes time. I know what it's like. It's a thankless task. You don't get support, but I can tell you now, going into the future, stuff like this will be absolutely awesome. Like you can already see it now. Like I'm looking at this page now, and I'm looking at Robbie Nash, you know, Rhonda Smith, you know, Bjorn Dunkerbeck, Matt Schweitzer, Mark Angulo. All these have got profiles. Fred, you know, Fred Hayward, Ked Winner. Yeah,
click on Jenna. Click on Jenna. Let's get the audience going here. Click on Jenna.
Yeah, but I mean, again, iconic. Anyone who grew up in this era, if they haven't heard of Jenna Drozny and they don't know about the Neil Pride advert with the painted on wetsuit, you know, where have you been kind of thing. It's crazy, you know, but she was before my time. Like I was only a little kid. I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should have, but you know, and you know, great windsurfer, great ambassador, you know, putting windsurfing in places where you wouldn't see windsurfing. And that's what you need. You need it to be in all areas. She has to, you know, someone has to make windsurf look sexy. I'm not doing making windsurfing look sexy. You know, it is cool to have a sexy looking sport. Yes, you want high action, you want that, but you also want the sexy side of it as well. You know, you see it with kiting, you see it with winging, and there are some haters towards that side of it, but actually it gets them so much more publicity and actually gets a different audience in, like a participating audience.
Oh, Paul bought Mauricio in, so I mean that was the best video I've ever seen. You know, he's
a good-looking guy, isn't he?
That's bringing the ladies back in. You know, screw all that sexism. That was cool. That was really cool, Paul.
Oh, thanks, Jonathan. Actually, I've got something to show you as well. This is in honor to you and your history of windsurfing. But I never wear this, but this is actually, I've got to stand up to show you. This is an Oakley fluoro yellow top. Hopefully you can see that. Oops, it's going all weird with the
Yeah, it's called
background.
green screen. Green screening
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, there's actually no, yeah.
Never wear
it's funny.
green on the green screen.
Well, I don't actually have a green screen behind me. This is just a program doing this. But this top is actually, believe it or not, from probably 1985, and I've still got it. It's been in the cupboard the whole time. So
the neon years, yeah.
Yeah, it's still the original from back that day. So I thought this is the perfect podcast to wear it.
And you can blame Mickey Eskimo for that. So, yeah.
What did it say underneath? Thermo something. What did it used to say? Oakley.
It says thermonuclear protection.
I don't think. Yeah, that's maybe a surfing shirt though, Bo. I think I went to Boot Dusseldorf back in the day. I would make a film. I go to Boot Dusseldorf, and you would actually show the film. And there were 4 million people, and they were just raving. I mean, it was a different time. And people say glory days. No, today's the glory days. No, those were the glory days. I mean, that's when windsurfing was on fire. I mean, there were so many manufacturers. The shows were full of groupies, and Robbie Nash would show up, AB Swarm, Robbie Seeger would show up later, and it's just like, the whole audience would swarm him. So that was the kind of thing going on back then. And what they had was a lot of fashion. So the neon fashion up on the stage, lots of models dancing around, male and female, in neon wetsuits, and everybody. And I was like, am I going to go back to Maui and wear a neon wetsuit? No way.
I like the color. I like the color though. The color's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, the colors are great. And Mickey kind of bought that into the whole BIC and all those graphics and things. So
yeah, I miss all the colors.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's what I was trying to find, because when I was obviously doing a little bit of research before you came in, obviously it's on this website. There's a little bio on you, but it says you were the first person to stick a camera on your helmet and sail in Hookeeper.
That I was, yes. So I first stuck a video camera with a deck on the back and everything with a cord. That was the first stage, and just to try and, I really wanted to show people what it was like to windsurf. Even my mom and dad, what's it like? Why did I drop out of photography school and go out to Hawaii windsurfing? And I had to kind of explain that to my parents, and I just showed the world what it was like to windsurf. So I stuck a video camera on top of my head with the deck, and Rob Kaplan from The Kind made me a backpack, and I went out there. Yeah, that is a lot to carry around at Ho'okipa, and it wasn't a very good helmet either. And I went out with Miles Valley on a day, like at least a 12-foot day on the outer Sprex Reef, and it was blowing like crazy. And I jumped, I knew how to jump back then, and I jumped and I landed, and we went out there for like 2 hours, and we're like, oh, I got all this footage. And I came in, and that first jump, the tape came off the head straight. So I had 15 seconds of footage. 15 seconds of footage. Yeah. But that 15 seconds of footage changed my life. So I went in, I didn't even own a VHS deck, and I went to the neighbor next door, and I said, can I borrow your VHS deck? And I put the tape in, and it played the 15 seconds of me jumping this wave at Outer Sprex. And the guy said, let's make a movie. And so he bought in his money, and I was in some other filmmakers on the island, surf filmmakers, said, yeah, we've been doing a little more high tech than that with the little gun cameras using World War II to trace bullets coming off the planes. And that gun camera only held 50 feet of film, but it was film. So it was a real little film camera, and you put that on your head, and I think it's in another shot, but
I'm just going to have a look. So we'll say again, it was the...
So can you just explain that? So you've got the camera on top in the backpack there. What's
yeah, that one right there. So that camera on top. That's the film camera. It's got a switch. It's got a battery pack on my back. It's got a switch that I have to switch on in my hand. I think it's on my. I can't remember where it was. So somehow I had to stop. I had to kind of put spit on the lens, because the worst part was to get water spots, right? And I had to look for the waves and look for the rider to come, dunk my head in the water, and then get on the wave, and then turn it on at the right spot, and take my hand off and turn it on, and then follow that rider, and I've got literally maybe 30 seconds, right? And then come in, and then a week, send it to the lab, and a week later you find out, did that cartridge even work or not? So you had, so you get maybe 2 minutes out of the whole deal of footage. And today, how you can just go for hours.
With a tiny camera. I mean,
yeah.
I can still remember when we first started messing around with this. I had a friend who was into cameras, and we had that. It was like a Sony. It came in a plastic case, still a big case. But that thing, when you sailed, it felt like your neck was going to snap. Like,
yeah, and that was there were two things about this that enabled me to do it, not everybody else. Because the thing about GoPro, it's like digital photography. We did the photography and we got paid for it. And then it became digital and everybody could do it, and we'd stop getting paid for it. With filmmaking, with this, not anybody else could do it, And there was a movie. I mean, the film that came out, the 2 minutes was beautiful. So to put that on your head, I mean, Pete Cabrina tried it. He almost drowned. I mean, it just took him under, and he couldn't get back up, and he almost drowned. So if you got knocked off your board and you had to swim with that thing, and you're on the rocks at Hokipa, good luck. I was a strong swimmer. I had a strong neck, and I would jump, pretty high with that thing on and land. And anyway, enough about.
How's your neck these days?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm pretty good. But I did snap a phrenic nerve with I had some pain in my neck, and the chiropractor. Don't let a chiropractor ever snap your neck. It snapped my phrenic nerve, which killed my diaphragm. So I was like 3 years without one lung. So fortunately, it came back.
Christ.
Yeah. So there was it was a challenge, but I think, it's probably not recommended to do it. And now everybody has GoPros. You probably wouldn't want to do it. But the other component was people, even, I'm going to say Kai Cacciatore, every single video you see of his is great, but he's not following anybody. You got kids, Kai, come on, follow your kids. And I didn't have the ego. I wasn't the greatest writer in the world, but I was good enough to follow Mike Waltz, to follow Craig Maisonville, to follow all these guys on the wave, and be able to take a beating with it. So I didn't have the ego. Not that Kai has the ego. He's a great announcer too. But you have to put somebody else in the field of vision. And there's
it's an interesting one, because I always actually struggle following and getting the right shot, because you've got a sail in the way, haven't you? Yeah.
So Barry and Jeff, they made a clear sail for me so that I could see through the sail. That was the first clear sail. Everybody else had Dacron, with one window, and that was it. And that was so I had simmer sails, and I just I don't know. They just came up to me and said, "Hey, can we make the sail for you?" I said, "Sure." And
especially for filming.
Yeah, just especially for filming. And so I had that was the nice part about it, was I got all kinds of sponsors, giving me stuff, because I was the only person doing it. Only person, I was making a movie called Impact Zone, and it got a lot of play. So that was a good move on their part. But it was just, it wasn't like they're paying me a bunch of money. They just gave me some gear. Well, but that gear was like a lot lighter than other gear. Yeah. So I had like the first light, clear sail in the market. And then
let's say your first, I guess it's monofilm sail, was it? Yeah.
It was a different kind of fabric. It was something that had like a crosshatch of carbon fiber strings in it. Okay. So it was not monofilm. No, it wasn't. It was still kind of like plasticky.
But it was for you to see through it, or for you to film through it?
Film through it. Yeah. Yeah. So I was actually, the rider would sometimes disappear, inevitably, I wasn't doing the full lay down bottom turns. Yeah. So I was like bottom turning, and they would like go behind the sail. So for that moment, I could see them, Yeah. And so if you look at the movies I did, there's some of them have simmer style. Like I did the first promo with Malta for simmer style with the video camera, not with the film camera, with the video camera. Okay. And so that all that footage, then I started with the, the simmer stuff. But until they gave me that sail, it was, people would kind of disappear. It wasn't too bad. But,
who was, out of all your filming days, who was the most fun to film with? Who
Oh,
like
yeah, it
knew
was,
what to do? Who was always in the
yeah.
right spot? Who was the most cool?
Well, Miles Valley. So nobody knows who Miles Valley is, but he was Mr. Sprex, right? He was the first modern freestylist, and also a friend. So when it's your friend and they'll take the extra time with you. The other guys are like they're on their own agenda. You got to go out there and you got to track them down. You got to put yourself in
Yeah.
the right place and follow them. Um, Malta was one of the guys that worked with me. Jerry Lopez a little bit, but it was mostly Miles who really worked out everything with me. So I had gone to cinematography classes and stuff, but there's a bit of cinematography involved. The angle you want to just follow somebody, you want to have some against. Paul knows all this stuff. It's just there's a lot of dynamics to filming somebody, and you have to look at your footage and see. We had a A-frame in Haiku where we would hang film strips and a little moviola thing. We would actually see the film through. It wasn't like what you have today with this instant gratification. So it was a lot of trial and error. And Miles worked with me a lot. So I would say Miles Valley.
Okay. Were you coming up with storylines? Like we were just actually talking, because obviously before this show, the thumbnail of this is Robbie Nash or Bjorn Dunkerbeck. And again, we know it's like choosing your mom or your dad. But,
Yeah.
both of those guys have got, well, Robbie's already had his movie out, The Longest Wave. I was actually watching the trailer before this, which was, I mean, it's a super interesting movie, and I got out of it different things that I thought. I don't know if everyone at home has seen the actual whole movie. Have you watched the Robbie Nash Longest Wave?
Not for the longest time, but I saw part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
don't
that
know.
not your sort of movie? Because that's like there's more of a story. I guess it's all that backstory, but obviously Bjorn
I think I
Dunkerbeck
did.
has
It was like I think it was about him hitting a target. Like he didn't have a target anymore to hit, so it was about that. So yeah, I kind of remember that. Yeah, it was good. It's all good. I mean, it's only gotten better since I did what I did.
yeah. But
And
Impact Zone was a big video. I remember
yeah,
it as a kid.
yeah, it got third place at the Mill Valley Film Festival. So it was the first one to like go to film festivals and things like that.
Do you know how many it sold?
No, I don't. I wasn't the. I actually had a bad bike wreck like halfway through coming down
Oh, okay.
Haleakala, and I was in the hospital, and I had to get out of the hospital and learn how to walk again and stuff, and get back on the windsurfer again and finish the movie with that camera on my head. So I can see when I'm filming, I can look down, I can see my two legs, and one's like this, and the other one's like this, So while I was in the hospital, they made me sign something away saying I was no longer, after working for the movie for 3 years, they made me sign something that said I was not the producer of the movie, and they would give it to somebody else, the director and stuff.
Okay.
So at the end, I got a little credit. It said cinematography, special cinematography. That's all I got.
Back in those days, Jonathan, was there, because windsurfing was booming, it was the fastest growing sport at some stage, was there just a lot of windsurf movies coming out weekly, was there a point where there was just, it wasn't like that at all?
No. I mean, this was the first one. There was a couple like Blown Away or something. There were very few windsurfing movies because it took a lot of money. It was film.
Hard Winds Are Blowing. I remember that.
I went to Blown later.
Yeah,
that was all later. So in the beginning, I mean, I had parties at my house where people would come see the dailies. That was the first windsurfing movies. Like everybody coming, and Mike Walsh, all these guys would come over and have a big party, and we would watch whatever I got out of the camera, right? Or I also had a Milliken, so I was shooting in the water too, and I was also the first person on the jet ski to film. So when you're the only one there, you do a lot of firsts, and so it was an exciting time. But after that,
I still remember the Impact Zone. My brothers and I destroyed those VHS forwarding and back. I remember that pausing, move.
Yeah, good. But later, I mean, like I worked on a Gastra film with the guy who did Hard Winds Are Blowing, and we went down to Fiji, and that was the Hall of Fame on one little tiny island, Namotu. Before I didn't even know what Namotu was, or before Scotty had bought the island with, I guess, Mike. And that was that was a good time. There wasn't much wind. We were supposed to do a whole movie on Pergastra, and we had no wind. I saw Jason Polikoff for the first time.
Was that
like,
Angle of Attack, that movie?
No, it was the one. I'm not sure what it. I can't remember what it was. What it ended up being, because we didn't get much film out of it. So it was pretty much a bust. It was like spending a month in PG having a big party, but it was a bust. But hanging with Robbie and Mike and all these guys and Dave Kalama and Mark Paul, all these, Problem was that Brett Lickle had killed a sea snake like the day before I got there. So they all went out at cloud breaks for the first time. They like pioneered cloud breaks, and we arrived that night, and they're all like beaming with their eyes. Like I never seen anything like I never seen Robbie look so electrified, or Mike. Like they had just sailed the best place on earth, and I was going to get to film it tomorrow. So I was beaming, right? And then somebody comes up and goes, "All the chiefs of the islands have just banned all you guys from going to cloud break." I'm like, what? What does that mean? Yeah, Brett Lickle killed a sea snake. That's a sacred thing. He had tarantulas and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. He was just playing around, probably whack. But that little whack cost us the whole rights to go film at cloud break.
Oh God!
So we ended up being hanging at Namotu the whole time, and we just never got enough wind at Namotu. So there was a lot of surfing going on, and that's about it.
Wow. I'm just looking at Impact Zone is as fine a film on windsurfing as you'll ever see. Playboy magazine. Did Playboy magazine windsurfing about that?
Yeah, that's back when Playboy magazine was Playboy magazine. Yeah, so that was pretty good.
And if we go through here, that Heart and Soul, what was your role in that? Because I watched that video 1,000 times when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was the water photographer, and I put the camera on I think it was Matt Pritchard's head. I mounted it on his mast, and he did a loop, and that loop went to some big shoe company. I forget which one it was, as a commercial. So Robert Masters, he was much more professional than I was. I was just in it for the sport, for the fun, I was a windsurfer. I was windsurfing half the day, and I was filming or photographing half the day. Robert Masters was filming, producing, getting the crew together. He was a serious dude.
Yeah. No, it was so well shot. I remember back in those days, you watched, if no one's seen that, I mean, maybe it hasn't aged as well as I imagine, but I remember back in the day when I watched that, it just seemed so professional, like, the cinematography. And I remember the colors in that film. They just had these super rich, deep colors. Do you remember that? Like when you watch
you're looking at film. That's why. I mean, most of that was shot with my Milliken, and so that was that's film. That's the difference between video and film. I mean, some people don't recognize it, but I do. Yeah.
Well, there's a picture of a crashed helicopter there. What's that?
Yeah, so that's
nothing.
While I was filming Double or Nothing, I had a big helicopter crash into the ocean at Sprex. That's probably what I'm only known for.
Really?
Yeah. So people
said something speaking to you, right? You said just something about you blew your neck out. You crashed on the way down the Haleakala on a bike. Now you've crashed a helicopter.
Yeah, I had a lot of crashes. Yeah.
I have to say something as well, Jonathan. Sorry, buddy, but that Double or Nothing is probably my favorite windsurfing movie of all time. I had it as VHS as a kid, and it's gone. I'm sort of devastated because I absolutely love that.
DVD. We're into the next generation. It was DVD. It wasn't VHS.
No, I know, but I had the VHS. I didn't.
I never had the.
Yeah. But I love that video. It's just kooky and it's funny, and it just didn't take itself too seriously. I loved it. It was so good. If anyone hasn't seen it, you should try and find it. It's so
good. It's I don't have it up online. They did a behind the scenes making. They had a big festival in Germany, and they showed it. Thousands of people came, and because that's just, as Kim say, right?
It's so funny.
There's a lot of backstory to that. I wrote the script about, the double had not been done yet. Nobody had performed a double. And I wrote the script, and I had cast Jason. I wasn't sure who to put with Jason. And I was out surfing at Kanaha. It was a long paddle, and I blew my shoulder out. and I needed somebody to help me go in it. And Francisco Goya came up and gave me his foot strap, and I grabbed onto his foot strap, and I looked up at him and go, "You would do, right?" And then I found out that him and Jason were best friends, so that worked out well. I mean, I'd seen him at Hokipa. I mean, I'd seen him like, but he was very, very raw at the time. Like, yeah, the guy's got potential. And so he ended up at the last clip of the movie. We were filming a contest at Hokipa, and Francisco pulled off the first double in a contest, and he won the contest. So that was like the end of the movie, and so that was great, unscripted.
Yeah. Oh, it was so cool. Whose idea was it to have that sort of kooky vibe?
That was me. I'm a pretty kooky guy. Hard to get me to do a straight video, but yeah, that was my idea. One of the scenes in there is in Lahaina where they're doing the bird, the parrots. Where
yeah. So I know that video back to front. You can tell me any part in that movie, and I'll
Jason's
know it pretty well.
Bud the Birdman. He's like a famous bird guy. His little parrot show in Lahaina, and so we set up where they're looking for a job. They get to Maui. This whole story is about two guys come to Maui and they're total kooks, and they want to get sponsors, and they're like, Darby Drewer, who died. Great guy, but he was like working at high tech shop, and he's like, "Sure, we'll sponsor you. Keychains and watch bands, 15% off." So they so they go out Hokipa and they get the shit beat out of them, and they're all duct tape and everything. So that's kind of the story. And then they go to get a job at Lahaina. They need a job. They don't have sponsors, so they go to this. They're looking at this guy doing the parrots. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I can do that." Jason's like, "I can do that. He can do anything, right?" This guy. And Francisco's always like, "I don't know." So they Bud puts the birds on him, right? And then Jason's like, "There's too many birds, like 10 birds on him." He's like, "Get them off, get them off, get them off!" And he was really, and the birds were clawing and putting blood on him. He's like, he really wants them to get them off. We're just like filming, like, "Yeah, this is good acting, Jason. That's great. One more time, can you do that again?" And then it was, and then they worked the birds and had the Japanese tourists in there, and behind it you see, Pioneer Inn, which is gone. And
that's the other thing about that movie. I've never been to Maui, but to me, when I see the scenes of Maui, it's like
you don't want to go.
Well, yeah, it's almost scary because I look at that. That's my vision of Maui, is that film. And then if I go there now, I'll probably be like, what happens to?
Yeah, you'd be disappointed.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you'd be pleasantly off the shore. I shouldn't bash Maui at all. I mean, it's a great place, but it's nothing. No place you can go to today is like it was 20 years ago. No place, right?
Of course, yeah.
So the Maui's the same, and I was so lucky to have lived that era.
So cool.
And so and to have worked with these guys that there's lots of guys these days I would love to work with, but
and Jason Pryor, he's so good in that. He's like a natural, isn't he? He's
total
very
natural. Yeah,
he's so good.
I'd written a script with Robbie Seeger, very similar to Triple X, and I had a pitch meeting with Virgin Movies, and Robbie Seeger was going to be the star of this. He was going to be Vin Diesel, right? So I had him doing very similar things to Triple X, and then they came out with Triple X a couple of years later. They turned my idea down. Came out with the same thing with Vin Diesel. I mean, the same exact thing.
Robbie Seeger would have been a good Vin Diesel.
He would have been incredible. I mean, so in Double or Nothing, he was like the world champion, and he was actually doing doubles. He might have been the first person to do a double, but he was getting really. He was landing like in the water. He was doing wet doubles. I'll put it that way. And so he was working with him, and he was like the big windsurfing guy.
He's like a machine, that guy.
Yeah, a total machine. Yeah, and just a super great guy. I mean, you think of German.
Maybe we need to do a show like that. What happened to this guy? What happened? Because there's quite a few. Like, there's a few string out of my head. It's like Scott Fenton. What happened to him now? Robbie Seeger's like a classic one, because when I was growing up, it was right in the first stages of freestyle, like at the end of my Olympic type career, where I was paying attention to the more sort of PWA stuff. And Seeger, I remember there was a Simmer video came out with him, Kai Katchadorian. And it was when they were first doing Spocks and random stuff. And I just remember that video being really cool. And I need to find it again, because maybe if I watch it now, maybe it's not as cool as I remember. But there was some different spots in there. But he's a beast, that guy, and massive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And I mean that what happened after I left Maui in the year 2000 because of I was getting to the point where I was doing some crazy things and people wanted me to keep doing them, and I was going to kill myself. And that included filming in God's hands at Jaws in the water. They wanted me to do that. They didn't tell me that it was on a jet ski. I mean, Don King ended up filming that on a jet ski. They didn't tell me it was on a jet ski. They told me I had to go in the water. But at the same time, my daughter's mom said, we're moving to Carmel, California, which is not a bad place. And so I was a good dad. I left my whole career behind, and I became like an NBA producer, basketball. It's the thing with round ball, basketball. And did my sports TV show, just different kinds of sports. But that was the end of my windsurfing career. So my head's still there, but my body's not. So that's why I still do things like this.
Yeah, that's mad.
Can I just say one thing? And it's just now that I'm talking to you, it's sort of coming back. But there's a line in that. Sorry to bring back Double or Nothing, but there's a line in that film that I still use today, and it was, "Don't panic, it's organic."
Yeah, don't panic, it's organic. That was Bud the Birdman. That was his line. Yeah, I use it too. I still use it.
Like I literally will be at a fruit shop and like say there's an organic piece of fruit, and I'll look at it and go, "Don't panic, it's organic." I just that stuck with me.
It was all done for something, just for that. Yeah, that's great.
It's amazing.
If you scroll back, up a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm trying to move you with my hand to this picture of Mickey Eskimo. Oh, this was the defining.
Oh, sorry, this one.
No, back. Yeah, no, the one with the wave. The wave. Up, Mickey. No, not that one. That's Mickey himself. But this is Mickey here. So this was a defining moment in my career. So this won Sports Photo of the Year, which is like, for like sponsored by Kodak and Canon and Sports Illustrated. So they had called me out of the blue. They saw this picture in a windsurfing magazine. I think it was Sailboarder. And they said, we want to make this call. I'm Bronwyn Latimer, Sports Illustrated editor. I want to submit your picture to Pictures of the Year. It's 36,000 entrants. And I think this might have a chance. I said, oh, sure, whatever. And I hung up. And then I got a call a few months later and goes, Bronwyn Latimer, you won Sports Picture of the Year. And I said, oh, yeah, right. I hung up the phone. And he called back again. Bronwyn Latimer, Sports Illustrated, you won Picture of the Year. And can you come to the ceremony? And had I gone to that award ceremony, Mike, I would have been a Sports Illustrated photographer for life. But instead, I went to Boot Dusseldorf because I was doing films. This shot was taken. I was doing movies. I was in a helicopter for one of the contests, an expression session, and my camera, that little gun camera, it jammed. So I put it down. I had my still camera. I pulled it out. I went like that. I took one shot, and I don't do aerial photography. I do water photography. For years and years, I do water photography. Here's an aerial shot. It wins Sports Photo of the Year. I think the reason is because people think it's snow. I think it's water. And Sports Illustrated said the wave won. Actually, didn't win. He pulled this out and he sailed on. So yeah,
super cool. I love that sort of story because I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I haven't taken any iconic photos or anything like that, but you realize when photography, you're conditioned to do it in a certain way. You have your style. And as soon as you just do something completely just by a mistake, that's something that's not your style, and you come up with potentially something can be really good. So yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, so that's one for all the photographers out there.
That's cool.
That's a lucky shot.
It looks like I thought when I saw that, I thought it was Dunkerbeck. It's these colors, isn't it?
Me too.
That's Mickey's colors. But yeah, I mean that one in a year that Michael Jordan had won the NBA championship. What's it got? Mike Tyson got knocked out. All these great pictures by Neil Leifer and Walter Eos, major photographers, and a windsurfing. Some little kid from Georgia beat them out with a windsurfing photo. And so that I quit my job. I quit my job and I was like, I'm going to go back to doing this full time. And Well, that didn't work out too well. But
1990 was a pretty cool year too, wasn't it? Because that was really, that was kind of the bridging gap between the old school and the new school, wasn't it? Like that was kind of when windsurfing really started to go a lot more modern and
well, I think it went more carbon, or more styrofoam carbon instead of the guy in the garage shaping the board. That's when I got my first RRD board. I mean, Roberto Ricci coming up with me on the beach at Specklesville going, I want to be a shaper, man. Would you ride my board? Will you tell me what it's like? And look at him now, right? I went to Dijon, France. I do a lot of, I do this thing called Travels with Toby now. It's a website about my travels with my little dog. And so I went to Dijon and I look on the store and there's RRD, it's like a high fashion store. There's RRD. And I went in there and I go, where's your Roberto Ricci stuff? And the lady's like, oh, what? They didn't have any, but he had his name on the wall. So at some point he had his stuff in there and it's like, wow, this guy has really come a long way.
Yeah, I mean, they do quite a lot of fashion stuff. I think they license out the name now.
Oh, they just license out the name. Okay. Well, I'll take a free board.
Now. I could be wrong, actually, but I know it's quite a big side of the business. I think it might even be the biggest side of the business.
I'll take a free board if he wants to give me one for that plug. But this year I'm training to try to do the Defy Wind. So I went there a couple of years ago, and I know Ben, you were there, and I saw you doing it. I was like, that's really inspiring. And I saw some guys on the beach that were, not as good shape as I'm in, and they're finishing. I mean, they took them a long time to finish, but they finished. And if I could just finish it, I'm not committing myself completely, but I'm committing myself to training for it and going there for a month ahead of time.
Sorry, we're talking about the Defy Wind.
Yeah, Defy. It's called Defy Wind. Okay, Defy Wind. Sorry about that.
Defy Wind. Yes. Now, I try and encourage. I actually didn't go this year, which just because of family commitments with the baby, and I had to do some stuff. But I was sitting home thinking, oh my God, it felt wrong not being there because it is such a celebration of windsurfers, and like there's lots of different levels, lots of different kit. You've obviously got the top end guys, that fight at the front, but just the whole community that turns up.
Right, the camaraderie is unbelievable, and I saw that. I went there just kind of on a whim. I have some friends in France I made on Facebook. Sebastian Rion is one of them, and he did it. He's in his 50s and he's had his, he's kind of a little baloney, but he did it, and he finished every race, and I just total respect. And he finished like in the top half. So I'm like, wow, he can do it. I can do it. Maybe I can't. I'm 66, so I was like, I went out and I trained their day. And next morning I woke up and like, I'm not sure I can do that or not, but I better not commit it. But we will have the induction ceremony on the first induction ceremony, and that will have all the big stars there. Hopefully, they're all going to travel there, and you're going to MC the whole thing. So that will be on the
I'll be honest, the Defy Wind already has a very good MC.
Well, I'm a terrible MC. This requires you. This is going to have multimedia, and so we'll introduce each person with a little clip of what they've done, and because people don't know who they are in the audience for sure, so they'll know who Bjorn is, and they know, and hopefully Antoine will come. Hopefully he gets inducted. I mean, I can't see him not getting inducted this year, but yeah, so that would be really exciting to have that ceremony. Thank you, Philippe Brou, for allowing it to happen, and yeah, so I'm really excited to at least be there for that. And to witness again this incredible event. That if anybody has a chance to go.
Yeah. What? Just out of interest, because we're talking about the Hall of Fame. Obviously, everyone who hasn't got on there, get on the Facebook page, sign up, and vote for your people who you want to be in the Hall of Fame. But in windsurfing, just give me some of the best inventions you saw when you were coming up through. Was there anything where you turned up to the beach and someone was like, you're like, what the hell is this? Because I can imagine there must have been some moments.
Sure. I mean, the biggest moment was the water start. It wasn't a thing. It was getting rid of a thing, getting rid of the uphole. Right. That was a huge thing. And I was out with Larry Stanley in Kailua Bay with Nalani, and I don't think he even remembers this, but they told me, said this Mike Waltz has invented a water start, and there wasn't enough wind for us to really do it. And so then my friend Angus Chater and I, we were trying to do it together. So we would go out at Diamond Head with all the hammerheads and everything around us. That'll get your water starting quick.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
it was like he did it and I did it like within 2 seconds, and we're like, that changed our whole life right there. All of a sudden, all these doors open, and we could, you know, ride smaller boards. And then the next thing was the short board. So Scotty O'Connor, Mark Paul, Mike Waltz show up at Diamond Head with short boards. And I was actually, I had quit photography school, and I had become I had a windsurfing company making hollow boards in oven, you know, cooking them, the whole deal, honeycomb. And that all fell apart before it actually happened. It should have happened. I'd be a lot richer now. But it didn't. And so I just took the shaping experience I had gotten, and I didn't actually shaped anything. I just worked with the shaper and thought maybe I could do that. And nobody was doing it. So I worked with Gary Efferding. I'm making the first custom board in Florida, and I rode that around. And then I saw a film by Yuri Ferrant, Windsurfing Hawaii film, and Larry Stanley and Thor, and I think Robbie maybe. And I said, I got to do that, right? So I dropped everything. I went to Hawaii. I bought some shaper. I sold my camera stuff. I bought shaping tools, set up in my garage, and I shaped a board. And I took down to Town and Country, like the biggest surfing manufacturer in the world. And I said, look at this, you know. It was a piece of shit, right? And I said, look at this. And so the guy came in the room. The boss didn't see it yet. He came in and he kind of tuned it up for me. And he's like, well, yeah, looks like the sport's like it's, you know, taking off. So you want to be our shaper? I said, sure, you know. So I did that for like a year before, you know, I had the best shapers in the world making my designs, which were not great, but you know, they were the more floaty 10-foot kind of things, but they were getting smaller, and I was making some really weird Batman boards, and Malta was too. So Malta came over one day, and he said, I'm from Maui, you know, I'm this dude from Maui. I want your job, basically. He wanted my job. And he showed him some pictures, and it was Malta jumping like 30 feet in the air to keep up. And I was like, wow, where's Maui? Where is that? And so I kind of dropped everything. I actually got I wanted to promote the sport, right? So I started. We had a magazine, Windsurfer, and all it covered was lakes. You know, very little. Very little about you know, high performance wave sailing.
Yeah.
So I said, I got to start my own thing. So I called the publisher at Surfer Magazine, and said, can I pitch you this magazine? And so I pitched him the magazine, and he said, okay, quit your job at Town and Country, come to San Juan Capistrano, and you're the editor, right? So I did that, and I moved there, and I get there the day, and he says, the guys at, I'm going to say a certain place, very respected place in Hawaii shop, say, you're a fraud. You don't know anything about windsurfing. You're a total fraud. And I said, what? And I showed him the pictures of me at Diamond Head, taken by Warren Bolster, me and Pete Cabrina, who was like my homie back then, and showed him the pictures. He goes, well, it's a little backlit. It could be anybody. And said, what I suggest you do is go back to Hawaii. Look, so you went to photography school and all that. Go back to Hawaii and become a windsurfer or a photographer or whatever you do. But said, you don't want to live in San Juan Capistrano anyway. So he gave the job to this lady named Bonnie Crail, and they did sailboarder. So yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent about that, but
you've been around.
I went. That's when I went to Maui. That's when I first went to Maui with Pete, and we slept on Mike Waltz's floor, and you know, with like 30 other windsurfers. That's what kind of place it was back then, and that's why I did Double or Nothing. It's like that's kind of how I started, and then I wanted to kind of tell that story.
I think what we should do, Paul, is I thought this idea the other day. We should recreate like an old school windsurfing movie, like but a proper one.
Ooh, damn,
a proper.
you just
recreate like.
Well, I'm talking like you can have different people creating a different section, so it's not like you have to create the whole movie. But let's say I give you the job of creating a song, one song section. I'll create a song section. We give another section to someone else. We put it together as an end of year, I don't know, movie.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah. All right. Add it to the list. And so, what's your story, Jonathan? We just jumped straight into your, Hall of Fame and everything. But can you just briefly talk about how you got into windsurfing? Like, what you started in 1972. That's pretty early.
Yeah. The first time I actually saw a windsurfer. I tried it in '71. So I don't qualify that. I just got kind of blown out to sea, and when the universal came out, it kept hitting me in the shin. So I wouldn't qualify that as windsurfing. But that was the first time I saw one. And that was, I don't know if anybody knows Dave Ullman, but he's one of the best sailmakers in the world from Newport Beach. So he had come out. I was racing 470 sailboats at the time. So I learned how to sail when I was 12 at a camp in North Carolina. And then sailed with my dad. And he took me to Florida to the midwinters. And this guy shows up. And in his boat, in the cockpit, is this thing. And I was a surfer, kind of a surfer. I mean, I grew up in Georgia, right? So we go surfing like 2 weeks a year. So I was a surfer. So I saw this thing. I said, "What is that?" And they go, "Well, we just kind of got it. My crew got it. He's never used it, and we don't know how to use it. Why don't you give it a shot?" I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So I gave it a shot in the sunset, and I got blown straight out to sea, and some fishermen had to get me, and nobody else had one. So I called, I tracked it down. You had to use a phone back then, and they told me some guy in Mobile, Alabama had one. If I went to Mobile, Alabama, I could try one. So I did it. I went all across the lake without falling, and I came back on the port tack, and I fell like 100 times. And I said, I got to get one of those. And my dad's like, "Well, we don't really have the money to get you one, but keep sailing, keep your focus on the sailboat racing." And on the way home, I totaled his car, I totaled the boat, I totaled everything. So with that, I got a windsurfer and a laser, and that changed my life. I became a really hot shot laser sailor. I was like captain of the sailing team at University of Florida, and did a lot in sailing. But I was using windsurfing as my training. That was the difference. And my competition was a guy named Ed Baird, who has since won the America's Cup for Lingy.
Right.
And he wasn't windsurfing. I was, and I could beat him anytime the wind came up. And then I went off windsurfing, and he won the worlds. He won everything, but he started windsurfing. Well, that was the difference. Was I was using windsurfing as training and having fun. The regattas there were some regattas, but they were kind of small. But Rhonda, Mark Robinson, Court Larned, all these guys would be at these regattas. It became a thing. Gary Eversole. It became a big thing. So I kind of got gobbled up in that. And then I went off to photography school, and I kind of lost that until I saw some a windsurfing van down on the harbor, and I said, "Well, I'll start doing that." And then we started doing races at Lake Lopez, big championships, and so I started doing well. And I went to the World Internationals in Florida and got fourth in heavyweights. I was like, I should probably just do this, right? And I dropped out of school, and I was one of the first guys to go to not Oahu, but to Maui. There was only a handful of guys when I got there, and so I just I just windsurfed for fun. And I like I said, Warren Bolster is a big story. I don't know if anybody knows who Warren Bolster is, but he did what is it, Dog Boys, Z-Town, something like that. He was all skating, and he's also a great surf photographer. He was also a raging alcoholic, and when I was working in Town and Country, he was boxing boards for $5 an hour up in the sweat box upstairs. And I said, so on break, he would come down, and I was shaping, and he'd go, "You're not very good at that, I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right." He says, "You probably should do something else, Okay. So I said, "Well, what are you doing? You're drinking, you're boxing boards, you're sweating all the time. What are you doing?" Because Greg Tsuchihara, the owner of Town and Country and founder, he said, "I want to show you something. Look at these magazines, these surf magazines. That's the guy boxing boards upstairs." Like, oh my God, this guy's unreal. So I said, "Warren, I'm going to take you to a little place called Diamond Head and introduce you to a guy named Pete Cabrina." And that started that relationship. And he took some photos of me too. I don't know where they went now, because Warren unfortunately had some car accidents and a lot of pain and ended up committing suicide. But he was a great guy, and he kind of came around. But when he came out to Hokipa one day, he got washed in, And I was like, wow, that guy's got super talent, but they're all in these rafts and everything. You know, all the big photographers came out in rafts, and I could swim. I mean, I was a state champion swimmer, and I could swim. So I got a camera. First camera, I went in, and it drowned. The whole thing came full of water. That was my first experience in water photography. So I got a job as a waiter, you know, luau waiter, a golf course nighttime security guard, and bought another camera, went out, and the first roll of photos were Neil Pride ads, covers of Windsurf magazines, everything. You know, that one roll of photos just took off for me. And so I had to keep it to myself for about a year till Eric Gator showed up and kind of took it seriously, and Daryl Wong and all these guys. But at the time, for that first year, that was kind of gold for me.
Wow.
And then I started doing this, you know, you know, I transitioned into the film thing, and so I did that for quite a while. But I was also mostly a windsurfer. This was like another sport, but I was first and foremost a windsurfer, and that's what I cared about the most. If the conditions were really good, that was the problem with me. I wouldn't pick up the camera. I'd pick up my windsurfer and go out there. So
if you could, you know, I guess you're pretty familiar with the current state of windsurfing. Like you still windsurf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed on your website you mainly, is it the Windsurf LT? Is that what you're doing a lot
Yeah,
of?
I mean, I have the song, but here you only get to really do the LT. You have to go to OBX, to Ocean Outer Banks, to do that, which we're doing next month. There's OBX Wind, so it's like Defi Wind here.
Yeah,
a few hundred windsurfers come out there. So we don't get to do. So I like to, you know, it's kind of full circle for me. You know, windsurfing kind of died because it went from lakes to Maui, and I was part of that problem, you know, with bringing all that attention to that part and everything else. People going, I can't do that. I don't want to do this. Well, eventually it became like, well, I can't do that at all here. So I want to do this. And that was actually when I lived in Sacramento. We had an old school longboard club, and it was on Lake Washington. So Lake Washington Sailing Club had a windsurfing club. And a bunch of guys would come out and race every night. And I got the LT, and I did pretty well with it. So I just been sailing it. It's a lot of fun. You know, I can go out anytime. I went out 3 times this week. So it's, you know, here on this lake, it's a great lake, flat water. Sometimes, you know, there's a seasonal wind. I'm usually in Europe when it happens, so I don't see it. But the shortboard guys get to come out 10 days a year. I can go out anytime I want. So that's the beauty of the LT. It hasn't taken off over here like it has in Australia or Italy. Yeah, so that's a shame, but it's really taken off over there.
Yeah, there's a bit of talk, you know, in windsurf circles over the last decade or two about what it would take to make windsurfing a bit more popular again, or, you know, would you have any thoughts from the whole time that you've been involved with it, from what you've seen to what's happening now? Like, is there anything?
What would bring it back? I mean, when I go to the Defi Wind, I see it. Wow, it's back, you know. But you know, that's a concentrated area, just like Maui was, and in Maui, it's still going on. But kiting really took the thunder away, and now the wing thing. So people, you know, kids, they don't want to do this; they want to do that. You know, it's really a hard sell to get them on a windsurf for LT. You see a bunch of old farts like me doing it, but getting kids on there—that's the hard part. But you know, if they see, you know, maybe they live in a place where, like Sydney or something, where they're not going to be doing the high performance thing every day, but there's this great fleet of windsurfers, and they just getting people involved.
Yeah,
I think that's the key.
I think I think the LT thing, to me, again, the interest I would have in it is more the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I don't think you're ever going to get the young kids into it, because I think most of the older guys getting back into it is to reconnect with that whole community.
Full circle. It's a full circle.
Yeah.
Because,
but I see the attraction of it, because I went out actually on some beginner kit here. We did like a little simmer shoot, and I was cruising around some beginner, you know, bigger gear with a daggy board. We went out around the islands. We had a laugh, and I was actually like, if you take away, it sounds ridiculous to say this, the windsurfing, like the new school windsurfing thoughts, and just put in, I'm going sailing on a windsurfer.
Right.
It's totally different. experience. If you don't go out there for high performance windsurfing, you just go out to cruise around, visit somewhere else, go upwind, and use it like a transport to just get around and have just a day out. It's totally different to wanting to go out there and fly around and
Yeah, but I think you're a little bit off on that, because the Windsurfing LT is a lot of fun. I mean, and it's a lower wind threshold to have that fun. So I mean, I was having a blast the other day. I mean, I'm planing, I'm full on going, and it's not like the old windsurfer, right? Because it's got, you don't have to put the dagger board on your elbow.
Know that.
You know, it's much more, you know, it's stiffer, so it really flies. I mean, it's not that, but I mean, I think I've done like 22 knots on it, but you're not going that fast, but it seems like you're going very fast. And you're out there, instead of going to the gym, I'm going windsurfing today. You know, I'm not trying to.
I'm not taking it away from the LT, but I don't think it's the thing to get young people back into the sport.
It's hard. I mean, they're doing it in Australia. They're getting some guys in Italy. I mean, I think there's the guys that are winning now in Italy are young.
Yeah.
And so they are getting them into it, and then their friends have to tell their friends, and that has to kind of mushroom. So you can't really shove it down anybody's throat.
No.
To see a kid, it's just kind of grow organically, and I think there it probably is. And I don't know, you know, you never know, but it's a component. It's a small component of the sport right now. I think winging is, you know, probably safer than kiting, and that's really. But I look at winging and I go, there's no way I'm doing that, right?
Yeah, windsurfing will always have its place. I always say it's you know, like maybe we lose a few brands, maybe numbers get a bit lower, maybe they go higher. It doesn't really matter, but there will always be windsurfing. I you know, 100%. It'll just be in what form and how many people, but there will always be windsurfing. And it's kind of proven that in a lot of other sports. When they get smaller, it's when they boom up again, because then it's kind of the underground sport again. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I think we'll see. I was thinking we'll see people flick between winging, windsurfing. Like, I think there'll be a lot of people who will always have small windsurfing gear if they're windsurfers now, and they might have wing gear for the lighter winds. That's what I feel.
Yeah, you should have it all, really. You shouldn't just kind of pigeonhole into one thing unless you don't have any money. Then you have to do that. So, yeah, but I mean, there's nothing like windsurfing to me. I mean, I've tried kiting. You know, I just felt like I was naked. I was like, "Where's the sail? And where is it? You know, and where's the power to do that bottom turn?" I mean, guys are doing it. Ralph Bachschuster, oh my God, he's killing it on the kite.
Yeah,
but I can't do that. You know, what can I do? And so I'm just I was like, I couldn't even sail the gorge before. If I didn't have a wave, I didn't want to go sailing. And now I'm like, give me a lake, give me a little bit of wind. I'm going out there. I'm having a great time. So your priorities or your perspective changes as you get older.
And also, like you say, I think you hit it there. Really, the location makes a big difference.
Yeah, your location,
and life circumstances. You know, this is not so much now, but there was a few years ago where I was seeing so many people coming back to windsurfing, and everyone I speak to had basically their kids had grown up, or their kids had got to an age where they were either leaving or they were keen to do stuff. You know, they'd gone through this middle ground. And I think that's a big one for the age group of windsurfers is the kids getting out of the house, or they're then looking for what are we going to do now? Oh, maybe we'll try that windsurfing again, you know. And there was a lot of people.
Why not pickleball? You know, no, I haven't gone to the pickleball yet, but it's windsurfing is for me it's a life. You know, it's my lifestyle, and if I don't do it, I've kind of lost who I am. And I just that's just me. But I think I see the kids, and I see like even like Zane Schweitzer, you know, he should be windsurfing, but he's into the wing thing and everything, you know, he's into everything. But yeah, I mean, he's also on a Windsurfer LT though. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I used to race a lot on longboards, and I actually saw a picture the other day. I can't remember what I was looking at, but there was someone, you know, railing, for anyone who hasn't sailed a longboard, like with the board on its side a little bit on the dagger board going upwind. And I always remember those days. Oh, again, I haven't been on longboard for years and years, but it's such a cool feeling.
It's a cool feeling. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's a cool feeling. I mean, I don't get as much as you get it because railing for me is a lot harder than it is for you. I'm 230, so it's like, it's hard. But I get that angle going at least, and that feeling, and it feels good.
It's a relaxing feeling. I mean, I used to sail up this lake, long lake, and it was a cool feeling. I did think about doing a video, basically going back, getting some old kit like longboard stuff, and actually going, is it like I remember it? I was just looking at a comment there, someone talking about a Div 2 board, and there was a Div 2 was a little bit before my time, but I always remember thinking, I tell you what, I always would have loved that, because I love that type of sailing, like Lechner, Div 2. Is it Div 2? Div 2's Lechner, isn't it? Div 1,
Div 2, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it's the problem with that is like I did the same thing. I saw this old school windsurfing club, and I just sold my Roberto Ricci board because my knees couldn't do it anymore. So I was like, well, I'll do this old school board. So it was like a Mistral comp or something, and I didn't quite get it was fun. Racing is fun, and the the social aspect is fun, but the board was like, it's still kind of really not there yet. Then I got a Windsurfer LT. I was like the first one to get one in the United States, and that was not a dealer. And I was like, this is really cool. And I started kicking ass on all the other old school boards. And I was putting my simmer sail on it though, so I was cheating a little bit, because I was trying to get like Jeff Henderson and Monty Spindler to make a bigger sail for the LT, and I got Bruce involved, and it's just Bruce Wiley. He's the inventor of the LT. So he, they never did it for me. But we need a bigger sail for bigger guys, and all the guys from Italy kind of fought me on. Oh, we got this one sail. It's really powerful. Blah blah blah. Yeah, well, you're not 230 pounds, So if you want to level the playing field like they do in the Kona class, they have bigger sails for bigger guys, and that levels the playing class. Instead, you have to have weight classes and people have to sail separately. I don't like that. I didn't like that way back then. I don't like it now, but that's why I didn't really get involved in the organization of it, because it just, I couldn't get that sail made by anybody. They didn't see the market for it, whatever. But I would like to have one if anybody still wants to make it for me.
Yeah. All righty.
Out of all, sorry, I was going to ask also, out of all the people that you filmed and windsurfed with over the years,
Mark Angulo.
What's that?
I get this question asked all the time. Who's my favorite windsurfer? I don't know if you were going there, but of all the people I've filmed.
Okay, I wasn't actually going to ask that question, but
okay.
That's okay. You can answer that one.
Yeah, that was Mark Angulo. I mean, that guy was, he had the surfer basis before he started windsurfing, and he just had this style and creativity and all that. That was, to me, in my era, he was the guy. I mean, I know guys are doing things much bigger, but they're doing a lot of what he was doing, and he kind of started it. And it's his style. I mean, I can see guys. I see the best guys in the world do not have Mark's surfing style. I mean, they just don't come from his background. He grew up on Oahu, and he was surfing with the best surfers at Rocky Point. So he had that kind of going into it, and Jason Polikow, same thing. They were both on that same kind of level with me. Robbie had the disadvantage that he was on port tack. He's a port tack sailor, and he was on starboard tack at Hokipa. And when I went to Diamond Head, Robbie was blowing everybody away. At Hokipa, it was Mark and Jason. I mean, they were the guys that were really snapping it. What was your question?
Oh no, I was going to say, do you keep in contact with anyone? Like, are you good friends with any of the sort of old legends, or?
Not, I mean, through this, when I started doing this, then I got in contact with people, right? So that's part of the fun of doing this, was my fun. Yep. And the boating part's the most fun, but trying to get them back into the light and bringing them back into the light, and like guys like Robbie Seeger, who have kind of faded out of it, and still great guys. He's going to swim around. He's planning to swim around Maui. I'm not supposed to say that, but he was planning on it. Wow. Just training for swimming around Maui. Are you kidding me? Okay. So anyway, just bringing him back, and well, I don't really, just Facebooking and stuff. The only person I really talked to has been, you know, some of my old lesser, not Hall of Fame friends, but you know, like Joe Cool, but Mark Angulo. I mean, he'll call me. I was going to do a book with him, and it got a little dark, the book. So, and then I don't want to talk about the recent times.
How is he doing? Is he doing okay?
Well, he's alive. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he tried. It's not the first time he's tried to commit suicide, and we talk about it a lot. And then and he lives 3 hours away from me, so I'm like, Mark, we got to get together, have a campfire. You know, I'm not going to force you back on a windsurf or anything, but we do these long conversations, and I never wouldn't rather nobody in the world I'd rather talk to. He's such a genius. He's so smart, except for you guys, right? But he, you know, he goes down these dark alleys and brings up these stories about people that, you know, in the book I didn't want to share. So it's like, you know, this is, you got to have a light book, you got to have a dark book. We cannot share the dark book. And then, you know, he has a substance abuse problem. So some days he called me, do the didgeridoo, like, you know, it's like, I know, okay, Mark's off today. Or then some days he called and he's like, she's totally on today. And he's coming back and he's all good. And he has a lot to say about the sport. I mean, when I did Wind Legends, I went around to Maui and I interviewed every legend, including Robbie and all these guys. And Mark just blew me away. He was like, I said, dude, you should be a preacher or something. He just the word. And so and then when I talked to him, I was like, God, I'm just enriched every day I get to talk to him. But then I told him, I said, you know, I don't want to just talk to you anymore. I want to meet. I don't want to do this virtual phone thing anymore. You know, you need to come out of the darkness into the light. And that's the last I heard of him until I heard, I looked on Facebook and he's like posting a message that he's going to kill himself. And he almost succeeded, you know. So really scary, you know. I've emailed him, I don't get anything back. So he'll come back around. You know, he does. He like disappears for a few months and he comes back around. And it's tough. You know, I went through it with Angus and it's a tough thing, suicide.
It's very difficult. I mean, you know, on a lighter note, when I just remember when he came back to windsurfing after the last time. And he blew, like he has always been, when I've been growing up, he's always been the one that I was racing back when I used to watch the videos. I always used to watch the Neil Pride videos. That was like every Christmas I'd get this new Neil Pride video. And then watching the shows on Water Sports World. And I remember when he learned the goiter or landed the goiter and all this stuff. And you were like, he had like a cool vibe and he just ripped. But when I seen him come back that second time, when he was trying the mutants and the Clue First 360s, when Jace put him in the video, this level then at that age to come back, and he was showing up some of the top guys right now. Like he was learning and doing crazier, more rad stuff than some of the up and coming superstars. And you were like, this guy is cracking on. He must have been mid-40s, must have been my age, maybe, or maybe a bit older at that point. But he was absolutely going crazy. And then, well, excuse that, but then he disappeared from Maui, you know? Yeah,
he went off and he did like house, renovating, and I don't know what happened, but I couldn't get him back to it. I never talked about getting him back to it, but his head, you know, he's kind of, I don't know what it was. Maybe that he couldn't perform. As you get older, you can't do those things anymore, so you don't want to do them. You know, you just rather go do something else, and that's fine. I mean, reinventing yourself is good. I mean, there's people that are like Rob Funk. He's still windsurfing every day. He'll keep it, not every day, but he's still there doing it all the time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could do that. You know, I had to do something. I got one life. I had to do a few different things. So Mark chose to do something different, and Mark, he really does deserve all the love. I don't know what to say about that. It just really breaks me up. But
yeah,
he's a great guy. Not just a great windsurfer, but
a lot of people going through that type of stuff. You know.
Yeah. And you don't know it. You don't really know it. You know. But he just has a certain amount of trust level with people. So.
Yeah. No,
it's part of the beauty of the sport, you know, just the people. That's why I kind of do what I do. Is the people that were in the sport, or either they were made by the sport or the sport made them. I think that's the same thing, or they made the sport. But
Yeah.
that's the beauty.
Well,
of it.
on a lighter note, like I said,
Yeah.
what you've done with that site, even just having the names on there and the profiles for me, just to look back on, and for people to look back on, you know,
I'm glad somebody appreciates it. Yeah, I'm glad somebody appreciates it. You know, it was kind of waning a little bit, the interest, and I, you know, I've had my issues, so the amount of time I can put into it has been limited, and it takes a lot of time. My wife doesn't like me working on it. But I did have a stroke 3 years ago, and she's like, don't, you got so much time left. Why are you doing this? And so I get up at 2 a.m. and I do this. You know, I put together that website because that's the hard part. It's not the voting. The voting's easy. That's the fun part.
Yeah,
But putting these bios together and getting the material. So that's why Cliff Webb coming on board is huge for me. And thank you, Cliff. I hope you don't bail out. Because I've had a lot of people come on board and bail out. If anybody wants to be a web designer, come on board, you know.
Jonathan, being a video maker from, days gone by, do you watch any YouTube windsurf videos?
Well, I watch yours. I mean, I just saw yours. I mean, I'd watch Ben. Ben's in my living room. My wife's like, "Who is this guy always in my living room?" It's Ben. You know, I watch. You know, I don't comment because I'm watching on TV, but I'm watching every damn race. I mean, every single one. And I'm watching your drone footage, and it's. I hear Ben telling you, go around that guy, go to see that guy. You know, we're on first place. You need to be focusing on the third and fourth place guys. So yeah.
Well, that wasn't me. That was someone else.
Oh, that wasn't you.
Yeah.
That was somebody else.
No,
okay. Well,
no.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been you. No, of course not. So that guy, you better coach that guy because he's on the wrong guys. Well, I think Cliff is like producing that. It was producing.
Yeah, no, Cliff's back involved with the PWA now. Yeah, he's doing.
I think he's going to Silt right now.
Yeah. I'm leaving tomorrow. Actually, that's why we're doing this podcast today.
Yeah,
it's been a bit rushed this week.
I'll be listening to you. You know, sometimes I jump in there at the beginning and I make some wise cracks and then I go away because I'm watching it on TV. And so yeah, I watch that. But as far as some videos, I mean, I just discovered your channel. And Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, I just discovered your channel through this, and like, who's Paul Van Bellen? He's not on Facebook, so at least that I know. And then so I found your videos, and like, wow, this is creativity. Somebody's brought the creativity back. The other videos, you know, they're okay. Ben's videos are great. Everybody else's.
Wait till he gets the Parrot Man on his next video.
Yeah. I have Parrot Man. So I just like that's. I'm still a kid. I'm still a kid at heart. I love watching those kind of videos.
Yeah. Well, you know, honestly, I'm not saying this to, just because you happen to be here, but all the inspiration that I have from making videos and everything is all to do with all the videos I've watched in the past, including, like, I literally just watched all those, especially from the 90s, all those videos that, I'm sure you were involved in a lot of them. I just watched them 1,000 times and they're just etched in my brain. And when I got older, I just was nostalgic and was just trying to emulate some of those things. Like that double, like when I say Double or Nothing is my favorite, it's just because it's just so loose and not structured.
Yeah.
And
not the encyclopedia, not the encyclopedia of windsurfing.
Yeah, and it's just authentic. Like the people, it's just so authentic. Yeah, I just watch it, and like Jason Pryor, and like they're just being themselves from what I can see. It's super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, there was a script, and then there was Jason.
Yeah, but I honestly, that's all I. And the other thing too is the videos that come out today, maybe bar like Thomas Traverses, and there's Nick O'Prien, who's very slick, but basically no one has still been able to replicate the videos from back in those days. They're still not as good, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? They're it's almost, yeah. Do you understand?
Yeah, it's funny because Nico had emailed me. I didn't know who he was. He said, I want to take over Wind Legends, and I want to sell it and everything. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know who you are. And then he showed up at OBX Wind, and like, okay, I know who you are now. You're the guy that puts himself on YouTube all the time, right? And so I was like kind of making fun of him with my friends. And then I started watching, and it's like, you know, this guy is really offering something to people. You know, he's really doing a service to the person, you know, coming up in windsurfing. Yeah, it's a lot about him, but it's also he's including people, you know, some other people, you know, pride riders. But it's yeah, it's really interesting. So I watch his videos all the time too. That's the other one I watch, and so I like
Yeah.
I really like him now. At first I started out like this guy's a head, you know, but doing all these videos about himself, and then like, well, he's pretty cool, you know. So
Yeah,
sorry, Nico. Sorry, Nico, about that, but you've turned me right around.
well, because the thing is, these days magazines have died off. I mean, there are still magazines, but it's not like what it was. So basically, people are left with the internet, and it's videos. You know, so without content creators, windsurfing is almost is not.
And that's amazing to me, because what you guys are doing. I mean, the whole like the monetization. Like when I started doing YouTube videos, I started doing a sailing TV show. And it wasn't, I had to get sponsors and all this. And now you don't really have to do that. You just have to get subscribers.
Hang on.
Okay.
Do you know how much we made on the podcast last week, Paul? I haven't told you.
12 cents. Or?
All right. You haven't given my share yet.
That's what I was going to say, but I'm waiting for the numbers to come in.
They're coming with AWA.
Is it under €1,000?
It's quite a bit under €1,000.
Well, it'll catch on. It'll catch on.
It is £28.
Okay.
Yeah. We made £28. That's a fair bit.
That's not bad.
That's more than you had before, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'm completely wrong about that.
That's like a foot strap.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's 1 foot, at least one.
I have a story for you about sponsorship. So Mickey Eskimo went to Kimsey, Martin and whatever his name is, had a meeting with me. They don't speak good English. And I told Mickey, I want $25,000 for these 3 countries, Italy, Germany, and France, right? And so we had the negotiations and everything. And Martin writes me a check for $75,000.
For what? Sorry? Hang on.
For double or nothing, yeah. So I asked for $25,000 for 3 countries. He writes me a check for $75,000. He said, well, he thought that was $25,000 for each country, right? I was asking for $25,000 for all 3. That never happened again in my life. It's like,
wow,
windfall. And then I was able to hire, I was able to pay Jason. I was able to pay Francisco. Every single person in that movie is paid.
Wow.
They're all paid. Yeah, like $300 a day. I know it's not a whole lot, but a lot more than they were making at the time. Yeah. So,
that's cool. I mean, I am definitely a numbers man. I love to hear numbers because it just adds context to everything. You know, you can makes it relative or not. You know, like I don't know. I always like that.
Wind Legends was I lost probably I don't know 25, 30,000 on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it all comes back, and that's when I realized, you know, I knew windsurfing was kind of really dead at 2010, 2008. It really died off. So it was just a passion project. So I knew what I was getting into. Was a lot of money, and you know, to produce it, flying to Maui, interviewing all these guys, and but I did it, you know. So I was glad I did it, and then it became like I just gave it away. You couldn't sell DVDs anymore, so I just gave it away. And I hope people enjoy it. Yeah, I hope people enjoy it, and I do sell my book Maui Glory Days, and I donate all the proceeds to the Windsurfing Hall of Fame, which means I pay for, you know, the operating costs and hopefully for plaques for everybody this year I can hand out.
Feel free to plug your book, because that may be something that people don't know. You do have the book. Is it Maui Glory Days? Was that what it was?
Yeah. So I did that. Maybe three or 4 years ago. Maui Glory Days. So that's really my, you know, all the stories I'm kind of telling now and more. But it's not really about me. It's about, you know, that era that I lived through, those glory days, and there's a lot of stories about Arnaud and Fred Haywood and the people that I would sleep on the floors of. You know, it's just really about that people and that culture. And I got a lot of like I've written a book. I've read some other books. I've sold like 2, but Maui Glory Days have done pretty well with. Not Impact Zone was the first book I came out with, and I sold 10,000 like that, just like that. There was nothing else for people. And it went out of print. And Miles Valley, the freestyle guy, he had given me the 25,000. Like we're walking down Paia one day, the street, and I go, man, I need $25,000 for the publisher to print this book. And he goes, he says, my grandfather died. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. That's bad. He goes, oh, good for you. He left me $25,000. And I put that money into the book. And then and that's basically what the printing costs were. So I didn't really make any money off the book, but I got it out there, right? So that's so people still have it's a collector's item. I mean, people are selling that thing for a lot of money on the internet. Last I saw on eBay. Maybe they're giving it away now if I signed it. But it's just yeah, it's just something I was able to do. And then my glory days, I don't have to put money into. I can just do the printing and put the effort into. It took a lot of writing. I wrote it for quite a few years. I first came out with a book called I was going to come out with Surviving Hawaii, about the helicopter crash and all that. So just surviving the culture of Hawaii. Yeah. And then my best friend Mark Johnson, he said, "You can't print that book. You'll get killed. They'll kill you." Because I just spoke a lot of truth about what it was like to be a haole in Hawaii, and all that's changed now. But at the time, there was a little toe dance you had to do to be a haole in Hawaii. So he said you can't print that. So I did it, and I kind of morphed into Maui Glory Days and just about the perseverance, the struggles that I had, just the whole the making of the movies and things like that. So I put it out there and had really good reviews. Just reading the reviews kind of makes me cry. It's like I can't believe people are writing these nice things about me, and I don't really deserve all that. But and then on the Windsurfing Hall of Fame, I'll get the opposite, right? I'll get people like slamming me. Oh, this is all a shame, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or why aren't you? Why did you put it categories, and why don't you put everything in one? And they're like, okay, that's self-serving.
Welcome to the comment section.
Yeah. Yeah. So it started. That was kind of getting to me a little bit, and so like this person, I don't know who this person is. I called my friend Joe Cool, and he called me. He said, "Dude, I saw the post on Facebook about this guy ripping you," and he's like, "That guy just called me, and he talked for like 6 hours straight about the Windsurfing Hall of Fame and how it's 3 guys in Paia having a coffee at the coffee table. That's the Windsurfing Hall of Fame."
But out of interest, is this guy prepared to do anything? Because I usually find.
I said, would he like to be president? Would he like? Wait a minute. I don't want him to be president. I don't want somebody like that. He's like, this guy has the perspective of somebody who just sat on one beach in the world. And it's not true. I did travel quite a bit, and they don't know anything about me, but they make these comments. And then I got something last week, which is super. Somebody's going to slam me big time and put it out there if I didn't do this or that. And I don't want to say who that is, but they're not in the nominees right now. So,
but in my experience, this is not. This is just celebrating windsurfing. So if there's people not on there, and they should be on there, that's also fine. It's not like it's a closed club. People will get on there. And again, if you are from Maui, if that's where you've done, so most of your intel and everything is from there, and that's fair enough.
That was a hell of a beach to be sitting on at that time.
No, but I don't think it's a bad place. You have to be based somewhere. But
everybody came through.
I think you just have to be realistic that there is, like when we were going through inventions earlier, there's going to be people who invented stuff that maybe haven't had a name check or think they were the first, which they could have been. And I think that needs to be explained, that it's not like this is the rule, this is it.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Open to celebrate it.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. But yeah, we had people. I can't name names, but super big pioneer guy, and with one of the biggest name brands, and somebody came on who was also a super journalist and refuting their claims, and I don't have any of that. I just remove all that, I can't, and they removed it themselves, but it's just like, there are always claims from everywhere, oh, he didn't do this, claims he did that. But my big thing is, don't claim things yourself. Don't toot your own horn. That's not going to do you. That's not going to serve you well. People don't listen to that. If they're going to toot their own horn, they're going to toot their own horn. And and the person watching this probably right now is hating my guts. They're probably going to sue me. Whatever.
but again, for me, I would leave all the comments on. I think every discussion is valid.
Yeah, I
And
told him post it. You know,
yeah,
post it. I say he
people
was
can
slamming
make
me for
their own
going to
mind.
Europe, doing travels with Toby. I said post it. That's the best advertisement I have for travelswithtoby.com. I just looked at it. And, where's my dog? But anyway, yeah, he it's like but he's saying like I didn't, haven't been putting enough into it. I haven't been putting enough into it, really. Okay.
Trust me. Jonathan, look, I know, Paul will know that anything you do within this, you are going to get comments. You are going to get people that maybe don't agree and know how to do it better. But usually these people who say that are not doing it better. They just know how to do it better, which there's a big difference between thinking you know how to do it better and actually genuinely putting the effort in to start something. Because I think, like me, I know I'm not doing things perfectly. I'm sure Paul will say he's not doing things perfectly, but you do what you can do. And I'm pretty open to criticism, but some criticism hurts a little bit. Like you think, I kind of get it, but you're like, what are you actually doing? Because it's really, I could criticize my own work a million times. I'm probably my own biggest critic. But sometimes if you're too critical, you never do anything. And then that's
paralysis. Yeah.
That's just worse, I think.
Creative paralysis. So you tell yourself it doesn't hurt, and then it kind of does,
for sure. When you've put work in and you've put effort in,
but you're more enamored to it than I am. I mean, you probably get a lot more, but I don't know. Maybe you don't, because you do such a good job. It's great. I'm really happy that you're doing what you're doing and what you guys are starting with this blog. And I know it's run off like almost 2 hours now, but
we better wrap it up. Actually, I've got a baby coming back from the first day.
I just to end it, I'd just like to thank you guys for what you're doing, and it can be a thankless task. 28 euros, yeah. Hopefully, you're getting sponsors.
No, don't get me wrong. We're rolling it. Me and Paul are doing it.
It's tough, but so I don't know why I do it sometimes, but then I do. Then I do know why I do it. So.
It's been super cool to meet you, Jonathan, because as I've come to discover you through this, I have realized that you have contributed a hell of a lot to windsurfing. And there's unsung heroes out there that have contributed to what windsurfing became, and you're definitely up there as one of the big ones from what I can see. So well done to you.
And I'm not talking about unsung or singing or tooting your own horn. I did not put myself in the Hall of Fame.
I was going to say, are you not in there?
I'm not in there. I got voted in there both years, but it's like I'm putting out the ballot and they're voting for me. Of course, they're going to vote for me, right? It's like I'm going to see if actually I don't know who voted, who is voting, right? I don't know. That's all blind. Not on the Facebook group, but on the official ballot, which we used to never have, the popular vote. But that's I just like I'm not going to put myself in my own Hall of Fame. That's serving myself, right? I'm not.
No, but you don't have to put yourself in. But if you voted in, you voted in. And I mean, even just doing it, you've got your credit. I think. Well,
I just found, as founder and president, I think that's enough, right? I don't need to put myself all over the place. So, I'm happy. I don't need that kind of recognition. I have a dog. He recognizes me every day, loves me every time I come home. Doesn't give any bad comments. So, yeah. It's all good. I appreciate the time, guys, and
no worries.
I'll let you go with your baby.
Thanks for joining us. And just another mention to everyone else out there, you've got till Sunday to vote people into this Hall of Fame. Things will be given out in Defi Win next year, but the voting finishes on Sunday. So again, it's not all or nothing. It's like if they don't make it in this year to the Hall of Fame, then next year they can make it in.
Yeah.
But it's just a nice little accolade to a few guys who have done stuff in the sport, which is Jonathan's trying to keep alive and keep these guys and names in this kind of Hall of Fame, which I think is a really cool thing. Like I say, when I went to the website, it's really cool. It's a nice little interesting read.
I appreciate
it. And before we go, are we doing this who is it quiz, or we've run out of time?
I think we might have to save it, unless you want.
Okay. No, it's okay. We are getting up to 2 hours. Just checking before I throw the video clip in of the quiz. We can do it another time.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. We're coming back with a quiz next week. If you've missed the quiz and you're still on after 2
I'm
hours.
sorry I rambled right over that quiz.
No,
I really
no.
wanted to play it myself, so
No worries. No
yeah.
worries.
Oh, well.
We will bring it back hard
Okay.
next week.
I will play. I'll be on the other end playing.
All right, mate.
All right. Take it easy,
Right.
guys.
Oh, it beats me a bit. Okay. Paul.
Wow.
Are
Oh,
we
super
wrapping
cool.
up?
Super cool, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That-
I'm really
I have-
interested.
Yeah, and I have to say, sorry, I have to say that that's actually a bit surreal for me because that Double or Nothing video was, I'm not just, again, saying it to kiss his ass, but I absolutely love that movie. So to have him on who made it, that's super cool. Super cool. Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
favorite?
Have you seen it?
I remember watching a clip of it and I thought, I haven't seen this. It was a while ago. Maybe did you post a clip of it or something?
Possibly. Yeah. You know what, because on my channel there was a period where I was uploading a lot of old windsurf videos that people would send me in their VHS. And it was the one video that I just didn't have that I was itching to put online.
I asked you about it and you hadn't got it. And you were saying,
yeah, might have to contact Jonathan. Maybe somehow I can get the DVD off him. It's just so cool. It's just a great period of time in Maui, and it's just funny. You love it. You'd love it. It's just so.
I'm sure classic. I've seen it. I just remember it being really cheesy. I just like
it is a bit cheesy, but it's cool.
In a good way.
Yeah.
And I should really say the thumbnail said Bjorn or Robbie. Who did you go for?
I did give it a little bit of thought before, and it's a tough one, but I'm going to have to go with Robbie because he's iconic. He won a world championship at 13. And he's a great, not just windsurfer, but surfer, all-around water guy. But Dunkerbeck's obviously an absolute machine. But yeah, look, Robbie has to be the one for me. Yeah. What did you say?
Well, actually, funny we're talking about Robbie. I do have some questions here.
Questions?
Do you want a question about Robbie Nash?
Oh, we're doing a little quiz, are we, before we go?
Oh, just while you're talking about Robbie Nash.
Okay.
What year did he win his first world title?
But hold on. Before we do this quiz, I have to now play this video that I've just made today. All right.
It's not a quiz.
No. We're going to a quiz, but I want everyone to show you what I've worked on today. Okay. When we do a quiz, this is the video that's going to play beforehand. Oh no, hold on. That's not it. This is it.
It's the Windsurf Quiz. The Windsurf Quiz. It's the Windsurf Quiz.
Oh my life. That is epic, mate.
All right. What is it?
These were just a couple of questions. One of them I've already asked you. At what age did Robbie Nash start
11.
windsurfing? It was multiple choice, 9, 10, 11, or 12. You got it wrong. I'll just so we know. Now, this might test your maths. So when was Robbie Nash born? What year? 1963, 1961, 1965, or 1962?
The first one that springs out to me is 1963. But hold on.
Don't cheat.
No, that's it, because he was 13, 1976, world champs, 1963. Bam, lock it in.
60 years old, you're saying?
I hope I'm right. I wasn't like an idiot.
I haven't got the sound effects.
Oh, you want me to get it? You know how to get into it? Oh, God, have I got it wrong? What is it?
Hang on. I just need to... Hey!
Hey! Yes.
Yes, you did get it right. You did get it right. At 52 years old.
Oh, dude, you've got it on repeat. You've got the.
Oh,
you've got. It's a work in progress, that one, isn't it?
Oh, don't leave me in charge of the quiz. I'm terrible at this. In 2015, right? at the Aloha Classic, Robbie Nash was 52 years old.
Right.
Okay. What position did he finish in the double elimination?
Oh God.
Okay. I'll give multiple choice. 5th, 9th, 11th, or 17th?
I have zero idea. I'm just going to wait for someone to give me the answer in the comments, and then I'll answer. Okay. What's 2015? So he was
52.
Sorry, what was
5th,
52?
9th, 11th, 17th.
We'll go 9th. I have no idea. I don't know. 9th, man. 9th.
You're going for 9th.
I got no idea. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Is that the final answer?
Rasmus says 9th. I'm going with 9th.
Okay, you're going with 9th. We're locking it in. It was, in fact, you want another guess? 5th, 11th, or 7th?
Another guess. 5th.
It's wrong. It was 11th, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't too bad. Wasn't
No,
too
not
far
too
off.
bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad though, is it? 2015.
How many
2015.
world titles does Robbie Nash have?
World titles? What is this, including the windsurfer class? Or are you talking about?
I just saw how many world titles he has. Like Bjorn Dunkerbeck's got something like 42 or something like this.
Damn.
So Robbie Nash, does he have 19, 21, 24, or 29 world titles?
24 stands out to me. But again, I'm just taking a guess. I'll go with 24.
Locking in.
God, these are tough, aren't they? Yes.
Is there?
Oh,
Pretty good.
there we
24. That's
go.
what it said. I don't know how official these things I found on the internet are. I did start a question but we've already seen the trailer already. Who is Robbie Nash's dad? Is it Nobby Rash? I mean, Nobby Nash. Rick Nash. John Nash. Or Harold Nash?
Gee, Rick Nash.
Rick Nash. He's locking it in. I just made that. There you go. There we go. There was just a couple of questions I wrote down.
I like it. Oh, that was good. I learned. Yeah, you learned
It
something.
felt wrong to not do a little quiz, didn't it?
Nobby Nash. No, he said Nobby Rash.
That's what we used to call him when we were younger because it was really funny. Nobby Rash.
No, but they're both legends. Robbie and Bjorn, they're obviously both legends. Dunkerbeck is an absolute machine. But, you know, the other thing with Robbie is it was not just about the windsurfing, but it was everything else around. You know, the pictures of him with his Porsches, the Audi ads, you know, the whole thing. It was cool. Who didn't want to put a windsurfer on a Porsche 911 and go cruising around Maui? How good's that?
Exactly. And to be fair, Robbie Nash did win the comments. Like when we had the vote at the beginning, he was a pretty solid champ and just run through. I mean, actually, Antoine got some votes. He wasn't even in it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Bjorn is definitely the ultimate competition sailor, but Robbie definitely had the people's vote in our live. That's what I would say.
No, for
So
sure.
yeah,
for
there we
sure.
go, man. I think we're done.
Well done. We got through podcast number 2. We survived, Benny.
Yeah.
Next week, you're in Silts.
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow morning super early. Going to be live in Silts. Tune into PWA. It's going to be quite an exciting week. I think there's wind forecast, a bit of rain, but it looks like we're going to get some action. So that should be good. The podcast next week is a little bit up in the air. This one was a bit up in the air, to be fair, but we thought we can't pull the pin on the second ever podcast. And then we drafted in Jonathan.
No, it was never, we were never going to pull the pin, but we're still working it out. I think we're doing all right, though.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's going to get better. Like, we're starting off slow, just building up. All right.
No, awesome, Benny. Thanks to everybody for tuning in and all the comments. It's super cool.
Do we have an outro link yet?
I haven't made an outro vid. That's on the list.
Okay.
But we're getting there. It's every week. I plan to hopefully add another little piece in this puzzle, and as time goes on, we'll have it. It'll all just be funny little things.
Shall we play the intro link?
Oh, you're gonna play the intro again?
Well, why not?
All right, we'll finish it off with the intro.
Okay. Is that the one there? Intro Ben and Paul's podcast.
Yeah, that's the one. Are you pressing it or am I pressing it?
You can press it because we'll probably end up double pressing it. Right, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Calls PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.